You're watching Cable 2.
Good evening and welcome to the April 5th, 2022 Winston-Salem Forsyth County Board of Education meeting. I am Deanna Kaplan, board chair, and I appreciate your attendance and also say good evening to our viewers on channel Cable 2. Will you please rise as we start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by our invocation given by Vice Chair Lyda Calvert-Hayes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Our Father, as we gather here tonight, we thank you for our time together. As our meeting begins, let us do our best for all children in our school system, as well as all who work in our school system. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Our first order of business tonight is the agenda review. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment that we return to closed session after our meeting?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? So moved. Our next order of business is our special recognitions. First, Andrew Kraft will present and recognize the Atkins Dance Team NCASA Hip Hop Small Ensemble State Champions.
Good evening, distinguished board, board chair Kaplan, Superintendent McManus. It is my pleasure to recognize the Atkins High School dance team under the direction of their coach Sylvia Wright on winning first place at the NCASA Small Ensemble Hip Hop State Championship. This is the first time in Atkins history a dance team has won first place in a state competition. The winning routine was choreographed by Captain Alexis Widener, co-captain Jada Parrott, and Coach Wright. The team also won third place in the student choreography category. The contemporary routine was choreographed by senior Grace Thomas and graduating junior Macy Thompson. And now to recognize the students, we have Oge Ezebo, Anna Lyons, Jada Parrott, Bobby Sievers, Grace Thomas, Macy Thompson, who could not be with us tonight, Kennedy Wells, and Alexis Widener. Let's give these students a warm round of applause. Thank you very much.
So we wanted them to, I know, we wanted them to dance. We were worried this wouldn't be big enough and someone might get hurt, but I mean, I just told them they could do impromptu if. Congratulations.
Congratulations. I know, so great. So next, the Week of the Young Child Proclamation presented by Heather Robbins.
Good evening. Good evening, Chairwoman Kaplan, Board of Education members, and Superintendent Tricia McManus. We are here to read the Week of the Young Child 2022 proclamation. Annually, the National Association for Education of Children celebrate the Week of the Young Child. This is a fun-filled week celebrating early learning, children ages birth through 8, their teachers, families, and communities, from April 2nd through April 8, 2022. To show support and demonstrate our beliefs that early childhood learning significantly impacts later success in school and life. We request that the Winston-Salem-Forsyth County School Board recognize the importance of this event and the awareness it brings by signing the attached proclamation. The NAEYC Week of the Young Child, whereas the Winston-Salem-Forsyth County Schools and other early learning community partners, in conjunction with the National Association for the Education of Young Children, are celebrating the Week of the Young Child. And whereas these organizations are working to improve early learning opportunities that provide a foundation of learning for children's ages birth through age 8. And whereas educators who make a difference in the lives of children in Forsyth County deserve thanks and recognition. And whereas public policy that supports early learning for all children are critical to their families. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Winston-Salem-Forsyth County Board of Education and Superintendent Tricia McManus do hereby proclaim April 2nd through the 8th, 2022, a National Week of the Young Child. And Winston-Salem-Forsyth County, North Carolina, and encourage everyone to work and invest in early childhood education and development and learning. Adopted by the Winston-Salem-Forsyth County School Board of Education this day, the 5th day of April, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we will hear public comments on the agenda items. The most important rule to remember is to be kind and respectful and no cheers or jeers when the speaker is presenting. So you have 3 minutes, and if you have more time, if you have more to share, you can email us directly. So when you come to the podium, please state your name. Thank you. Mr. Alan Daniel.
Good evening, Chair Kaplan, members of the board, Ms. McManus. I've just got a few questions about the stormwater maintenance agreement that's presented for approval tonight. I'm curious if that agreement is still valid. It's dated April 5th of 2021. And on March the 4th, Glenn Johnson of the city of Winston-Salem informed me that there was no valid permit for a stadium to be built on the property. There had been a permit applied for, but it had since expired. So my questions, have updated building and stormwater permits been applied for, and have they been approved? Will the addition of the retaining wall that the board approved a couple of meetings ago increase the estimated cost of the stormwater maintenance for that project? And why was this annual $34,000 maintenance cost not brought forth to the board before the board approved? You know, it's like first we get an $800,000 request for a practice field, and then, oh, we need $1 million retaining wall to protect our $800,000 practice field. Oh, and now we need $34,000 a year to maintain the stormwater piece that's going to take care of the stormwater for that project. So just a few questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next order of business is the superintendent's update. And I wanted to say apologies. Heather Robbins did not present the proclamation. In her place was Tanya Love. So thank you, Tanya.
I'm not used to getting on so fast. I wasn't ready. All right, let's see. All right, so let's see if this works. We're doing something a little different. Do I have to point it anywhere, Kevin? Just point it. Right arrow, right? Okay, it's not going. Help me out. Thank you. You're just going to have to, we'll try again. So just a few updates and highlights this evening that I wanted to share. First of all, April 3rd through 9th is National Library Week. And so just to all of our media coordinators, media assistants, and all those working in our school libraries and just public libraries, happy National Library Week. And their role is so important, just getting books into the hands of our children, our students. And so just wanted to wish everybody happy Library Week. And Kevin, yeah, it's not going. There we go. Also, April is National Autism Awareness Month. Actually, in much of what I read, and I have to check, it actually says, I think the title's changed to Autism Acceptance Month. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what I've read. And so I think it's been called many things, but I just want to give a shout out to all of our parents, all of our educators in our EC classrooms that support our students that have been diagnosed with autism. Again, I said this at our last meeting when it was Down Syndrome Awareness Month, that we are blessed to have students with so many different abilities in our schools. And so thank you to all of our parents that allow us to educate your wonderful students that have been diagnosed with autism, and also to our educators that give their best every day. So happy Autism Awareness or Acceptance Month. Also, recently, we celebrated our custodians and our child nutrition workers. I think it was a couple Fridays ago, we were at the Benton Convention Center rolling out the red carpet for our student nutrition workers in all of our schools, and that was a great event and had lots of staff there supporting, but thank you to our student nutrition workers, our child nutrition workers, and also then we were in the North Forsyth cafeteria celebrating our custodians and had a great time there having lunch and just giving away some door prizes and had a great time. So thank you also to our custodians and all of our these groups of employees that deserve more recognition than they get. They make it possible for our students to come to school in clean and positive learning environments, and also to be fed and critical roles in our system. Also, last week, was that last week? That was last week? Last week. Thank you. I couldn't remember if it was just yesterday. It wasn't yesterday. It was last week. We celebrated at Carver High School a great event. Thank you to anyone who was able to be there. But a kickoff of a new partnership between Carver High School and Forsyth Tech. And it was an amazing event to learn more about what we are going to be offering our students, what we currently offer, and the new programming that's coming for our students at Carver, including dual enrollment, including aviation classes, cybersecurity classes, and more. So it's going to be an exciting partnership. And also, for our students, our UNCF, we are in the process of providing grants, college scholarships to students who apply. The deadline is April 19th, and that is for high school seniors that plan to go to a HBCU, and we want you to be able to apply for a scholarship. So please look online. Here's the web. It's on our district webpage, I believe, and the deadline's April 19th. Also, the Winston-Salem Foundation, we found out recently, we got this information, and thank you so much to the foundation. They are an amazing partner for us. They have provided over $69,000 in teacher grants for professional development to 37 educators, and also they gave out $6,900 in 7 grants to local youth-led groups. And that went to many of our high school groups. So they are really investing in our classrooms through these grants, through our educators. And so thank you to the Winston-Salem Foundation. And last but not least, spring break is next week. And so I hope that everyone will take time to rest and rejuvenate and relax so we can come back strong for our students for that last stretch of our 21-22 school year. So happy spring break, everyone. Please stay safe throughout that week. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next order of business is discussion items. Dr. Leslie Alexander will present an update on the ESS contract.
evening, Chairwoman Kaplan, School Board, Superintendent McManus. I just have a brief update for you about our ESS partnership. Okay, so just a brief review of what this partnership looks like. This was a 3-year pilot that we have with this company. Although it's a 3-year pilot, there is a 90-day cancellation clause. So we were at that point in March, so we thought it was about time to just assess that situation and see where we feel like we are with our satisfaction with the service. So how are we doing that? Well, we've been monitoring emails and phone calls, making sure that we're keeping abreast of the issues and concerns that we've seen so far. We also sent out a survey to principals. About 47 principals completed the survey. One of the questions, so that wasn't everybody because obviously we have more than that. Of the principals who completed the survey, there was a question on there about did they wish to remain working with ESS or would they prefer to bring the substitute service back in-house. About 75% of our principals said that they would prefer to bring it back in-house. So that was 75% of 47 principals who said that. We also gave that survey to financial secretaries because they're the ones who really work a lot with subs. We had 40 of those complete the survey. They were a little bit less adamant. About 60% of them thought that it would be better to bring the subs back in-house. So we wanted to dig a little deeper with that and sort of figure out exactly where those feelings were coming from. So we really analyzed some of the responses in the emails and some of the questions for the survey. Some places that we had some mixed responses was the fill rate. And so that means at what rate are we filling our vacant sub positions. Actually, this was not a low point in the survey. Previously, we were at 60% fill rate, and our current fill rate is 74%. So given the increase in substitute requests, that's actually probably a positive if we look at it like that. So we just want to look at all the data kind of as it is. We currently have 140 vacancies, so a lot of their subs have been used to help us fill long-term positions as well, which reduces the number of subs that we have to fill the other vacancies. When the substitutes moved to the ESS system, there were about 350 subs who previously worked for Winston-Salem Forsyth County, who then transitioned and went over with ESSS. They've actually recruited about 600 more subs, so the sub pool is quite large with 980 plus subs. However, we really need to do some deeper digging into that data to see how many of that 900 participate on a regular basis. So the fill rate really wasn't an issue per se. Customer service was hit or miss. You either had people who said, I love this company, like they're always responsive, or somebody who said, I can't get a hold of anybody. So, figuring out how the district team of individuals at ESS supports our schools is something that we probably need to look at further too. Are there certain team members who are supporting certain schools? And if so, is there, does that need to improve in how we support those schools? However, areas of concern that were fairly consistent were technical issues. So anytime you learn a new system, there's glitches. And so the financial secretary is figuring out where to request the subs, where to list them, how to work with that whole system. There's going to be some hiccups, I guess, in any new system. So that's not totally surprising, but that was a concern that we want to address. The other thing is that there were some unintended complications of partnering with the group that we really didn't think about because we weren't in the position to have to think about it, right? So one of the parts of the agreement that we entered into with ESS is that substitutes could not be dually employed, which means they could not work for ESS and the school system. So you might be thinking, well, why would they want to? Well, they might want to tutor, or they might want to teach summer school, they might want to drive an activity bus. And as a principal, I can say from experience, you kind of get used to your subs, and you want to use them whenever you can, however you can, to meet the needs of your kids. So that was a complication that it was not beneficial for us to be on that end of that agreement. And I don't know that we really could have thought about that beforehand, but we did learn it in this first pilot year. And then, of course, the fees. We always want to think about what are the fees that we're paying for this service, and is the money that we're paying, are we getting a good service for it? So in looking at those fees, and Andrea helped me sit and kind of break those down today, 15% of what we pay to ESS, we would pay as a district because it's taxes. it's FICA, workers' comp, all those things that total 15%. So you can kind of take that 15% off of what we're paying them, because we would just have to turn around and pay it ourselves, right? So in really looking at how much we're paying for the subsystem, and that's something that we kind of looked at and assessed. So because we were within a 90-day mark and we were unsure about really how we felt about moving forward, we felt we needed to go ahead and notify the company that at this point, we're not feeling really good about where we are with this, and we want to let you know that. And so we did draft that and send that to them in that time frame. I did have a conversation with them after they got the letter, because of course they don't want to lose us. We're a big district, right? And just I shared with them what our concerns were, because we want to make sure that we're providing good service for our campuses. So their response was an increased support to our district team, providing additional training to our campuses, allowing dual employment for non-contract hours. So if somebody wanted to teach summer school or wanted to drive a bus, they could, and that they said they would restructure their fees to make them more competitive. So where are we now? So now we have our data that we've gathered, we have their response. There's a couple of things that I think that we need to do between now and the end of the year to make a really good decision. And one of those things is to survey the substitutes. They're an important part of our school family. Substitutes are critical. And we need to know, how is this working for them? There are some changes that were made with ESS that may be beneficial to them, and we don't want to just do a quick change back without getting their opinion on those things. For example, we used to pay them monthly. They now get paid weekly. So how do you, does that matter? How are you feeling about that? They're also able to get benefits through ESS. They can pay for benefits through them, which was not something that we were able to do with them. So I think in order to be fair to them as well, we need to do a survey with them and see how they feel about working with ESS. Then I think we need to do an additional end-of-the-year survey to principals, financial secretaries, and substitutes to see how they're feeling at the end of the year so we can know how to move forward. I think we need to assess the company's performance, review the revised proposal, and then really look to determine our district capacity to offer an improved service. If we do bring this back, then we're going to need to make sure that we're prepared to market, hire, onboard, train, support, and do paychecks, because payroll is a big deal when you're bringing potentially 1,000 other people back to your payroll. So I think just to be fair, those are the things that we should look at moving forward. Any questions?
Board Member Bohannon?
Thank you. Dr. Alexander, I want to first thank you so much for your presentation. I really love this approach. And the reason why is because I think, speaking for me, one of the things that's really consistent about being a board member is that you hear more of the bad feedback than the good feedback. Mm-hmm. And so relative to ESS, I've heard a lot of pushback, but I think to your point, there are some substitutes who see the change favorably. Mm-hmm. I think that there are some pieces that would be missing. I also sort of, one of the reasons why we entered into the agreement in the first place is because internally we really didn't, the feeling was that we didn't have the staff to support the sort of what is involved with subs as we needed to. And so if we're gonna make the adjustment, then we have to be ready for that. And so I think kind of, doing all of these things and surveying the substitutes themselves is going to be extremely helpful.
I appreciate your recognition of that, because the ultimate goal is that we deliver an equal quality or better service. With 140 vacancies, it's obvious that we have a lot to focus on with getting people in our classrooms who are there permanently, so we don't have to have as many subs, so thank you for bringing that up.
Board Member Crowley?
Yeah, what was the fill rate that they promised? I recall 90%, but I'm not sure if that's
That
right.
was, I probably wasn't listening really closely at that board meeting. I wasn't standing behind the mic at that
I
point.
remember that
I
too.
just feel
Yeah.
like it's
I remember that.
very
Yeah.
short of what they promised. And then one other question is, will we keep school-based subs? It seems like they've been extremely beneficial,
Yes.
especially.
And thank you for bringing that up, because that's been a request of principals, and that's also something, as you were mentioning the good and the bad, we do have 80-plus building-based subs that are taking away from that pool to show up and serve every day. So I just want us to be cognizant of the hits that that company took in trying to implement this program. I'm not sure that we could have done it better, you know, but we wanted to give it a chance and make sure that it went well. And I just think we need to look at things fairly and then make a decision moving forward. But that's been a unanimous request from our principals.
Okay. So that will continue?
Yes.
Great.
Any more questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Well, our next order of business are our action items. The first, consider approval of 7 ESSER-funded ERV HVAC projects. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second. Okay, any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Next, consider approval of adding stormwater maintenance to R.J. Reynolds Wiley to existing annual budget line. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes,
Board Member Matsui.
I do have a question about, do we have line items for stormwater and maintenance elsewhere in the district?
Mr. Walker?
We do. We spend around $300,000 a year, stormwater fees and maintenance costs across the whole district.
So the fee that would be for this stormwater would be right in line with
Other stormwater
Standards.
ponds we have, correct.
and stormwater maintenance is something that's absolutely an essential, is that correct?
It's a 2008 code that came into play within the city of Winston-Salem, and so since 2008, the requirement before you can get your permitting and stuff is to have a agreement with a stormwater maintenance agreement, operating agreement, and it basically is 4% of what the cost of the stormwater pond is once it's designed. And so now we're just now getting around to getting the final design cost, and we have to have that maintenance agreement in place.
So this needs to be approved in order to move forward, is that?
That's correct.
Okay, so we don't have the permitting at this point, but because of a change in city.
It will come next after there's an agreement to make sure that you can maintain the ponds. And whether that's cleaning it out or plant material, whatever's involved in it. If it's an outdoor one, this one will be underground, so it's kind of like the Career Center. Ever been to the Career Center? There's 5 tractor trailer kind of under the parking lot there. We have to go in and maintain and clean out when there's more than an inch of rain a year, an event. And we spend about $54,000 there. So it's 4% of what the actual cost is the requirement by code.
And once permits are accepted, that will be because it is considered safe to put?
That's correct. It would be engineered and approved from the engineering perspective to be able to be installed. We are not paying for the installation. We're
Right,
only
no,
paying for the maintenance piece.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that, I have a concern, obviously, because I think when I look at the land, it looks like a big bowl to me.
Mhm.
But you're saying that it would not be improved unless they were certain that the stormwater maintenance would work well enough.
Correct. It'll be designed and engineered by a professional.
Okay, thank you.
Board Member Parker?
So the city of Winston-Salem is not the only one that we pay stormwater things to, is that correct? I thought that some of the municipalities have that as well,
It is not
Did-
as restrictive as
Okay.
the city of Winston-Salem code.
but we do maintain ones
We
there
have
that we
runoff
have to
fees
pay.
to those.
Yeah, we have, okay, so it's countywide basically too, that we do that.
The
Okay.
maintenance fees are more within the city, but the runoff fees are countywide.
Okay.
Any more questions?
I do have one
Okay.
question.
Board Member Woodbury?
Thank you. So I guess my question is, just so that the citizens, and including myself, very clear about, this request is about just our due diligence, that it's our property and we need to take care of it like we do the other school properties with this issue. It's not that we're trying to do anything exceptional for R.J. Reynolds.
No, ma'am. It's a requirement of all of our school properties.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for the clarification. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Next, consider approval of state supplemental funds for teacher compensation. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Next, consider approval of the Membean purchase. Do I have a motion? Second? I'm sorry. Oh,
The TNTP.
oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Consider approval of contract with TNTP for teacher residency program. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Next, consider approval of the Membean purchase. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second? Okay, any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thanks. Our next order of business are our announcements. April 11th through the 18th is spring break. April 26th will be our next regular meeting of the Board of Education. And I'd also like to take a minute to congratulate Board Member Woodbury for earning her PhD last week.
It's an EDD, not PhD.
I know she has worked really hard for this great honor. Would you like to say a few words?
Just thank you for this community's patience and love, and this board has been super patient with me the past few weeks as I prepared to defend, and so they have definitely stood up and sat in places where I couldn't or forgot, and I just appreciate their kindness and just their patience with me as I went through this. So thank you all so much for your support.
Thank you, Dr. Woodbury. Before we begin the next section of our meeting in which anyone can comment on anything, let me say to our Cable 2 viewers, thank you for watching. This will conclude our broadcast. Have a great
Thank you for joining us on your school channel, Cable 2.